Hello YouTube, I am the Duelist with the Eyes of Blue, and today I bring you my Darklord deck profile, which I've been going on about for quite a few videos now. I've mentioned it in a number, hence why the Destiny Soldiers box is in the front, because, well, it was a good box. So right, let's get into the monsters first. Now, pretty much everything I pulled in this deck came from Destiny Soldiers, hence why it is an awesome box. Which I do recommend getting. So yeah, let's get into it. So first off, we have two Darklord Morningstar. This is the main card of the deck, so you need to have two of them. Most people would run three, I run two, so there's enough room for other things as well. Next we have one of the big money monsters in this set, which is Darklord Ixchel. I managed to get one of these out of the box, and I got the other big money card as well, which I hadn't seen in a few videos, so it's fairly good. I believe two double Darklord Tezcatlipoca, which is a horrible name to say, but it's a good card, especially if you want to run, say, as you see later, there's Dark Hole in this deck, which, if you have a load of Darklords on the field already, if you play Dark Hole and discard this guy, from the way I've interpreted it, your Darklords are saved, so you've cleared your opponent's monster field, and then, you're free to attack. And these guys are pretty much all over 2000, the big ones anyway, except for Amdusk, which is 1800. But yeah, I would say it's a good move to play. Darklord Nastin, which is one of the easiest ones to summon, because you just discard two other Darklord monsters for it. So yeah, I think it's good. Then Amdusk as well, which lets you bring Darklord monsters back to your hand. So I've got, two of him. Then we're on to the weaker monsters now. Well, the weaker ones from the box anyway. Got Darklord Nurse Reficule, which, is basically an effect damage bounce instead. So any effect damage that would be dealt to you, say from Magic Cylinder, or any spell card like Ukazi or something, is just bounced back to your opponent instead. So yeah, it's a handy card to play, so hence three of them. Now on to the others. We got Darklord Zorotto. It's basically the Darklord Dark Hole. Just got to send a Darklord monster from your hand to the graveyard, and boom, destroy all monsters, and it can still attack. But it's destroyed at the end of the turn, so you want to make most of it, hence why two of them. Next we have Darklord Asmodeus. This is the one from Legendary Collection 2. Because they were just sitting in my drawer, so I thought, why not? Chuck them in there. I think I've got the other two in here as well after this. See, but it can't be special summoned from the deck or graveyard. So much like Morningstar, it can't be special summoned, which is a bit of a pain in the neck, really, but hence why I've geared my deck for summoning it out as quickly as possible. Well, Asmodeus and Morningstar. The one thing I don't understand about the Darklord cards is in the actual Japanese translation from the real card, they're fallen angels. I don't get why that had to be censored. I know it's the whole religion debate, but are people going to be really that bothered about it that they make a complaint? It's just my opinion, that's all. If you are that bothered about it, then fair enough. Well, they haven't called them fallen angels anyway. But I don't see a problem, Next we have Superbia, again from Legendary Collection 2, and Ida Erai. I hate saying that card's name, it's horrible to say, but I just go with it. These two actually gain effects if they're special summoned from the graveyard, so that's always a good thing, because there are a number of cards that can bring different cards back from the graveyard in this deck. So yeah. Darklord Marie, which has been renamed for this set. It was Marie the Fuller one, now it's Darklord Marie. So yep, three of them, because it lets you gain life points and stuff like that. So yeah, and there's a good number of cards in this deck for discarding and things like that. Next we have Necroface, which will become clear in a second. I know people will be thinking, why does he have that in there? Yeah, you'll get it in a minute. Dark Armed Dragon. So if you get it early on and there's only 3 dark monsters in your grave, boom, you've got an instantly strong dragon. Which if you banish one, you get a monster. You can destroy one of your opponent's monsters. Hence, Necroface. So you can get them all back again. Again, Doomsday Horror gets 300 attack for each dark monster that's banished. Couldn't remember the word then. And the camera's glaring, sorry about that. Can't really help it. Oh, there we go, just put my head in the way. That'll work. So yeah, run 2 of him. For getting your cards removed to use with Doomsday Horror, you have Prometheus, King of the Shadows, which I don't get because Prometheus stole fire from the gods. I think that is the right one I'm thinking of. So yeah, I don't really get that, if I'm correct anyway. But yeah, you gain 400 attack for every dark monster that's banished because of its effect, which is, to be honest, is fairly good with a deck that's packed full of dark monsters. There is one card in here that isn't a dark monster, but yeah, and you'll see why in a second. So 2 of him, and then we have Darklord Christia. I have this in here because if you do come across the situation where you do have 4 fairy type monsters, which most of the Darklord monsters are, except for Darklord Marie, I believe, they're fairy monsters. So if you have 4 of them, or if you say play one of the spells or traps that brings them back or removes them from play, to have 4 of them in there, you can just summon Darklord Christia, which it's a good card, to be honest. It's one that your opponents won't expect because, okay, if they've sealed off all your dark type cards, you just make sure you have 4 fairies in the graveyard, and you know, you can summon him instead. They just won't see it coming. So that's it for the monsters. There is no extra deck. I know, no extra deck? Wow, surprising. The only thing is there's 3 tokens, which will become clear in a second. These are from Legendary Decks 2, which is another set I recommend getting because it is awesome. The cards you get in that are brilliant. Mainly for nostalgia, but they are very good. Okay, onto the spell cards. Now I got one of each of the spells and trap cards that came in this set. So you have Banishment of the Darklords, which add a Darklord monster from your deck to your hand, except Banishment itself, which doesn't make any sense because you're not banishing anything, but okay, I'll go with it. Darklord Contact for bringing Darklord monsters back from the graveyard, but it has to be in defense position. Now, this card is pretty good when it comes to, say, bringing back Darklord Ixchel or Darklord Amdusk, because their defenses are 2,900 and 2,800, so they're fairly high in terms of defense. We have Fires of Doomsday, 3 of them. Now this I like to play, say, on my opponent's end phase, because these monsters cannot be tributed in the turn that card is activated. So if you activate it in your opponent's end phase, and then you draw, it's then the next turn. So you've got 2 monsters then to tribute for Darklord Morningstar or wherever you want to tribute them for. So hence 3 of them, which is why there's tokens in this deck. And for Darklord Asmodeus as well. Dark Eruption. Target a dark monster with 1500 attack or less in the graveyard. Add that target to your hand. It's good for, say, Doomsday Horror, Prometheus, I think Nurse Reficule as well. Yeah, it's got 1400. So yeah, it's pretty good for a few of the cards in this deck, really. Beginning of the End, another banishment card. If you have 7 or more dark monsters in your graveyard, banish 5, draw 3 cards, which is good, to be honest, because you've got ways to bring them back. Necroface, a few trap cards that you'll see in a minute. So yeah, you're Creeping Darkness, banish, again, banish. 1 level 4 dark monster from your deck to your hand, so you could bring Necroface or any of them. Dark Hole, as I stated earlier, 2 of them, which is as much as they'll allow. Allure of Darkness, again, 2 cards and banish 1 dark monster from your hand, or if you do, send them to your graveyard. So say if you draw, I don't know, 2 Darklord Maries, you're better off sending them to your graveyard, really, aren't you? Which, well, there's 400 life points every standby phase. I think it's standby phase anyway, could be wrong, but yeah. It's a good card, so 2 of them. This is either Mamble or Mambella. I'm not entirely sure. Pronunciation, not my strong suit. Yeah, so if you control 3 dark monsters, target 1 face-up card on the field, banish that target. So that could be your field, your opponent's field. For example, if you've taken control of one of their monsters and it's reaching the end phase now and you don't want them to have it back, use this. Banishes it instantly. And I've got 2 of them. We have Veil of Darkness, good for sending cards to the graveyard, so if you say have Darklord Contact in your hand or other cards, yeah, you can send that to the graveyard and you get a new card. Trade in, I figured with the amount of high level monsters in this deck, you kind of need it. Monster Reincarnation, to bring the odd monster back to your hand if you need to, and to get a card in the graveyard. Valhalla Hall of the Fallen, one of the best cards in this deck, simply because you can summon any fairy monster you want, except for ones that can't be special summoned, obviously. if and as long as you control no monsters. So it's fairly good, say if you get it on your first turn. And Advanced Draw, which is tribute a level 8 or higher monster, draw 2 cards. So if you're in a bit of a pickle and you need to, it's there for you. And then on to the traps. Whew. Okay, so we have Darklord Rebellion, another one of the good cards. It shows, well, his name is Lucifer. If you know who the Angel of the Morning Star is, it is Lucifer. So that's Lucifer in his angel form then being banished because he rebelled against God in the Bible. I don't know how I know this story, but I apparently do. And then he became his darker self, hence Darklord Morningstar. Next we have Darklord Enchantment, featuring Darklord Ixchel, which, yeah, I'm not going to state why. It's pretty obvious. And that lets you send a Darklord monster from your hand or face up on the field. Yeah, hang on. Sorry about that, just a bit of an interruption. Yeah, so Darklord Enchantment just lets you send a Darklord monster from your hand or face up on the field to the graveyard, take control of one of your opponent's monsters. So this could be comboed with Dark Mambella, which would let you then banish that monster at the end, well, in phase 2 for example. Okay, next, Dark Illusion. Well, this deck is full with dark cards, so I shouldn't really have to explain why. But when a spell or trap card or monster effect is activated that targets a dark type monster, negate the activation, and if you do, destroy that card. So, 2 of them. Escape from the Dark Dimension. So if you haven't managed to get Necroface to your hand yet, you still have access to your dark type cards that are removed from play. Ultimate Providence. Good for getting cards in the graveyard that you need, say Darklord Marie. So then you've got your 200 point boost per turn. Then you've just got a few, I think there's just a few basic trap cards left to keep your opponent where they are basically. So you've got Spellbinding Circle, Wiretap, just stop them activating the odd trap, Call of the Haunted, access to your graveyard, Negate Attack, Sakuretsu Armor, and Blast Out by a Tribute. Because a few people still tribute monsters, so why not? So yeah, that's the end of my Darklord deck profile. It's not a competitive build, but it's worked pretty well when I've played with it. Also, the Dark Side of Dimensions movie is finally out. I've already seen it before, but still a good rewatch, really. So yeah. My next deck profile will probably be my Galaxy Cypher deck, because I've now managed to get the sleeves for it, because I've only just started sleeving my cards recently. The ones that I use anyway. So yeah, I finally got the sleeves for that. They went on this morning, and well, hopefully that will come in the next day or two. Alright, see you around YouTube, and remember to like and subscribe for more, because there always will be. See you.